just because of the way the system is set up, I'll just start with playing the video. This is the latest promo that we've just done to give you an idea of what we do, and then we'll kick it off.
Magical Park is the world's first digital playground that councils can subscribe to, so you can play it for free in your local park. There's a unicorn. It is our mission to get kids off the couch and active outside through digital outdoor games.
I really like the idea of young people coming together and experiencing these kinds of games where they're interacting with one another, they're still engaged in something that they feel is their own.
Got them running around and it was wonderful.
Well, it's a great game because it gets you out of nature. I like the dinosaur ones, and it's cool how it's 3D.
Download it for free from the App Store or from Google Play Store.
There you go, that's us. So, the button is hit. Yay, it works. Okay, cool. We can't see anything. What's that? Ah, yeah, it works. Awesome. All right, we're going to race through the story of our company, and predominantly really only to give you a context as to why we had to literally not quite ditch the idea of App Store and Google Play Store, but why we very quickly realized that it wasn't going to work for us. It's going on and off. So this is my stepdaughter Ella, when you can see her. I don't know why it's kind of like switching on and off. Maybe it's a specific spot I just standing in. And so Ella inspired the whole game, and that was back in 2011. And so, unlike other games and how they're being made and how the idea kind of started, for me it was really like I couldn't get her outside. She was 7 years old. She found outside boring. She didn't want to go outside anymore. Here I was, frustrated step-parent, and going, "What do I do?" And because I've got a background in entertainment and the film industry, at some stage it clicked. And I was, if I could take the games that she loves so much, predominantly fairies, outside in the bush and in the park, then she will want to go. And so I started researching the technology, came across geospatial AR, geospatial augmented reality, ditched my job as general manager and joined a startup that specialized in geo AR, which was called Allview. And that's where I ultimately met Amy. So the key thing here really is that we started with a problem in mind and with a very specific demographic. And the demographic was kids between the age of 6 to 11 who do not want to go outside anymore, and the frustrated parents that, like me, I assumed, would want to pay for it if it was going to get their kids outside. So that was pretty much the question that we started with, that drove the entire business model ultimately. If we somehow, I think it's like a...
That just looks like can't go get your another one. If you want to put the font here, we can play it from this computer.
Yeah, we can try that, absolutely. Okay, so I'll just keep talking and then, tell you about it. Don't necessarily need to start session. So basically, we had identified the demographic. I'd joined that startup. We had identified more of the problem, which was that kids on average sit 8.5 hours per day globally and only spend an hour outside a day, if at best. And so it seemed to be an issue that a lot of parents were really concerned about. It wasn't just me. So I figured, okay, we've got a demographic, we've got a problem, I've identified the gaming technology, awesome, let's just make a really cool game. And the company that was with, which was funny enough, more about utilities and not about entertainment at all, but they did do geospatial augmented reality, allowed me to research for 10-20% of the time my game, because they were hoping that eventually we could start a second company. That didn't happen because we got made redundant. But as we were made redundant, and obviously I'm not a developer, Amy came to me and she said, I really like what you do. We should do this. Now's the time, And so here I am, 45 at the time, going, shit. I'm ditching my job, ditching my income, everything, like, oh well, if I'm not doing it now, I'm never going to do it, right? So, and I was really stoked that Amy had so much faith in the idea, and she had so much faith in it because she could relate to it from a different point of view. Her issue was when she was young, she was so addicted to games that she would be one of those children who would skip meals and sleep and toilet breaks, and just sit in front of the computer and didn't want to go outside, no matter how nice the weather was. So she came from a different angle, and I mean, Amy is like 12, 15 years younger than me, I'm actually not sure, something like that. So we started the company on the 23rd of September 2015, so it's almost 2 years. Ooh. And then basically what happened was we went for 2 months and just saw one advisor mentor after the other. I have so many friends in the industry, Mario from Pickpock and Play and all these guys. So we kind of like had a coffee with everybody and said, this is what we want to do, any advice? And it was Stephen Knightley who came to me and said, you should do an incubator. It's like, what's that? It's like a business incubator where you learn about business. It's like, okay. And he, if you know the background story, I ended up in Chile for 3 months in a business incubator, and Amy ended up working here on the game. So in December 2015, we started programming. And we started with an idea which we called Sharks in the Park. And we were sure this was going to be a huge hit. We were so sure, because it was new gaming technology, it was exciting. At that time, nobody even knew what augmented reality was, at least mainstream, unless you were really tech. And we were excited. We thought like, nothing can happen. We're just kind of like going to be invincible. It's just brilliant. And it wasn't until we came to the second incubator in Wellington, which was Lightning Lab XX. And have you guys ever been in an incubator? Have you got any idea what it's like? So imagine 70 mentors, and they all give you advice, and within a week you have what we call mentor whiplash. Because everybody's giving you their opinion. And so I'll just skip a couple of slides forward, thank you. This was Sharks in the Park. And so basically what ended up happening was that we presented this idea, we had the prototype, we were so proud, and we launched it, And so in an incubator, you always want to see very fast traction. You need to look at the numbers and you need to kind of like measure it because you only have 3 months to get the company investment ready. Which means that at the end of the 3 months, you present in front of investors, in front of angel investors. So that was our goal. So here we were in March, and we were launching Sharks in the Park, and so I'm guessing that the video is possibly not going to play. Now, wait till 25, I'll talk over it. So this is Simon Shepard, TV3 News. We managed to get on there, and he was talking about the game. And we were so excited, we thought, now this is our chance, there's going to be loads of downloads, it's going to be a hit. From here on, it's just going to skyrocket. And as you can imagine, that didn't happen. So while we had that night, 650 downloads, and it propelled us to the #1 of the New Zealand Kids app in one night. We were absolutely stoked, but literally on the graph of downloads, it looks like, so not very impressive. And you can imagine that the moment we kind of, got back to our mentors and advisors in the incubator, they were like, so, now what? You're not having any revenue coming in. This is a free-to-play game. Are you going to make money? What's your model? What's your plan? And we were like, well, we're going to make it a premium game. We're going to add in-app purchases, something like that. We'll just need to get that traction built up. And it very quickly dawned on us that that wasn't going to work. So, here it is. So, we got to #1, we had 2,000 organic downloads within the 3 months at Lightning Lab. And we had, a phenomenal game playing time, like the kids that we tested with at least, were happy to play for 15 minutes. So we were quite happy about that. But so then what happened was that our advisors set us down in the weekly meeting and said, guys, how will anyone going to find you on the App Store? There are millions of those apps. How is anyone going to find you? And even, 2 million apps at the moment, and even if you're being found and you're doing in-app purchases, only 3 to 5% convert. In actual fact, if you look at Candy Crush Saga, the more players they got, the more the number went down, and in the end it was 2 to 5%. you know. So it's not a very high number. And 30% goes to the App Store, the Play Store, you know, which is fair enough. They want to make some money too. So in the end, you kind of like look at it and you go like, how many players would we need in order to be a successful company? And I don't know whether you know, but Zynga Farmville, for instance, they had at some stage 44 million players a day. How do you get to that? You know, like, what do you do? How do you make money? Because otherwise, if you're sitting on 1 million players a year, that's not going to make you money. And we're going to get to that in a second. So just quickly going over, I'm assuming that all of you guys are really familiar with in-app purchase models and all that sort of stuff, but just quickly going over it. So you've got your premium versus free to play, and then you've got your game bundle with like, you know, cross promotion. So imagine you have like 10 mini games. For the first mini game, you're buying your users at an average rate of $1.60, with the hope that from that first mini game, you're cross promoting over to the other games and they're buying all the other games for $1 each. So theoretically, if you're lucky, your $1.60 is going to create a return of $10. You know, so that's another model. So then you have your in-app purchases, and as you know, there's a lot of algorithms behind it to kind of like drive the purchase and make it easy to buy and spend as much as you like. And then you've got in-app advertising. What is interesting here that a lot of people don't realize is there's overt and covert advertising. And so your overt advertising would be the blatant interruption with, for instance, a movie trailer for Find Nemo or something like that, you know, because we're in the kids' space. A covert would be, for instance, that you're playing a cooking game, and in that cooking game are specific ingredients that you can buy in a supermarket. Now, what's interesting when you're dealing with kids is that kids cannot recognize advertisement. They only do later on when they become teenagers. But at a young age, the age group that we're dealing with, they don't actually understand that it is advertising. To them, it's still part of the game. So when you're then looking at advert games, which are games like, you know, which are specifically about a brand, they still think it's a game. They don't recognize it's actually advertisement. So, and then you've got subscriptions like Club Penguin, you know, Minecraft, that sort of stuff. So these were the sort of models that we were looking at when we were asked, you know, like, how are you going to make money? We did a lot of research, and so I'm probably going to take a little bit of away from now. I'm done. So basically what happened then was, we sat down and we went like, well, that doesn't seem to work. If we're putting Sharks in the Park on the App Store or Google Play Store, we're not going to make enough money fast enough. We're going to run out of cash, because we're only really going to have cash until the end of the incubator, which was coming up fast. You know, in that case, it was actually only a month and a half away. And then what? You know, you always need to make money. And as a game developer, that needs to happen really fast. So we went back to the problem. We thought at what are we trying to solve? What is the product that we have? And we realized we have a playground. But it's not a traditional playground. A traditional playground is aimed at kids 3 to 7. We are aimed 6 to 11. And that's going to hit us. This is the evolution of the playground. Who has an interest in playground? Councils. Right, awesome. So we started talking to councils, and believe me, our advisors and mentors were, you do not do business with councils, don't work with councils. Simply because they said they don't pay fast enough, it takes too long to get them across the line, they don't have a business sense, yada, yada, yada. But we went to Wellington Council, and we happened to find a guy whose name is Tim Park, who is the Park and Recreation Manager. And he happens to be really into games. So we sat down and we said, this is what we want to do, what do you think? And he said, let's run a trial. I'll run a trial with you in 2 parks, and we'll see how it goes. So we started setting up the trial, and he helped us to get 3 more councils on board. So the trial ran between Wellington, Auckland, Porirua, and Hutt. And the end of the incubator was coming up, and we were seriously running out of money, and we sat down with Tim and we said, we need cash. What do we do? This is not going to work, you know, like we thought we could sell this thing for $60,000 a pop, because we were looking at the traditional cost of a playground. And so Tim said, look, I want to have a meeting with all the councils involved and with another organization, a Parks and Recreation organization, but if you don't mind, I don't want you in it. You know, I'll tell you the results afterwards. It's like, okay, all right. So, you know, you went and had the meeting, and you rang us up and you said, here's what we would like to offer you. And you tell us whether you think this could work. He said, see, councils have specific budgets, and you need to make sure that you stay under that budget so that we can sign things fast. You need us to act fast, you need us to respond fast, so you need to come in under. Do you think you can make this work with what you have right now, $2,500 per park per year? So imagine us going from 60,000 to 2,500. And we were like, okay, you know, how do we go about that? He said, well, we're all in. If you accept the price, we're all in. So here's your first $15,000. And the guys back at Lightning Lab were like, what do you mean you've made a sale of 15,000? It's like, yeah, we just sold a bunch of parts, just like that. And here's the order forms. You know, it wasn't hard, and they're already giving us the money. So all the stuff that they had said about doing business with council, to me, was just a communication breakdown. You know, and it really just made what was important to get together and you know, and talk. So what we ended up doing was we designed a game. We had at the time Augmentia and Prehistoria, and then Amy, over time, with the money that we kept getting in every month, we started to develop more games. And so if you imagine the technology, it is designated to one specific park. So the council signs up per park. So Wellington, for instance, has got 2 parks. Auckland at the moment has got 16 parks. And we're actually going into a campaign of the Battle of the Parks in South Auckland in a couple of weeks. So I'll go back and further on into how many parks we have at the moment. But so the idea was lots of different game worlds within one game. It's like a playground. You rock on up to the park, you pull out your device, it's free to play, and you know, the parents and the kids can have a lot of fun and run around and be excited, just like what you saw in the video. So my business partner Amy has got a very strong moral compass. She is an animal rights activist, and she has got a very strong ethical stance. And because of her stand for it, we decided to say we won't allow in purchases, we won't allow in advertising, it's free to play, and all the other ethical issues that come with it, so we're not selling the data off. And that raised the question then, obviously, for a lot of people, so how do you make money? Well, you know already, we're getting a subscription fee from the councils. But that part here, what you see here, that ethical gaming stance, became a really strong brand mechanism. It actually became the reason why a lot of schools, councils, and parents are endorsing us now, simply because of that. And it's free to play. So we're selling to the councils for $2,500 per park per year. And in March this year, we ran Parks Week. So Parks Week is 1 week where all the councils in New Zealand and Australia are celebrating parks. And Wellington Council suggested that we team up with the New Zealand Recreation Organisation. And the New Zealand Recreation Organisation pretty much has got all the councils around the country as members. So they became our partner. They are now doing the sales and marketing for us and the invoicing. So we can totally focus on developing the game, and they market Magical Park to all their members who are the councils. The councils therefore don't feel sold to, and so we just collect the orders. And out of Parks Week, we got the second product, which is a pop-up park. And so pop-up park is literally for 1 week or 2 weeks or maybe 5 weeks, and the councils pay per week. And that is now the second income stream, which is very, very popular in Australia. And it's interesting that New Zealand is pretty much just permanent parks, and Australia is pretty much just pop-up parks. Okay, so here I wanted to do a little exercise with you guys just to see if you can follow my example. So you now know that we're charging $2,500 per park per year. If we had said we're sticking with the Sharks in the Park model and we're going with in-app purchases, this is pretty much what it would have looked like. If we go by like $1 per user who pays and a 3% conversion rate, we would have needed to have 234 daily active users per park, like in one park every single day. That is not realistic for us, absolutely not. But with the Sharks in the Park model at the same time, without having cash to put into marketing, there is no chance we would have been able to get that revenue to drive the marketing, like to really get it out there. Second example would be, so if we say, we're trying to get 30 daily active users to one park, our best at this point is 27 per park in one park per day, so 186 in 1 week. Then basically, we would have only made $328 a year. So this is just to kind of give you an idea as to how much more money we're actually making with way, way less users. And the strength of that model is going to come clear now when you think about what the networks are actually doing for us. So we're focusing on impact networks. We're looking for those people that have got our clients as members. So that is your park and recreation facilities, or we've just partnered in the UK with UK Active, and they're all about healthy families, healthy communities. So that's your fitness studios, etc., etc. You'll be surprised how many organizations have got an interest in getting our game as a pop-up. For instance, we're going to be at the New Zealand Hockey Tournament for Women in November for 1 week, which means we're getting exposure to 25,000 people, just like that, and we're getting paid for it. And then, so that impact network advertises us to the councils, and the councils advertises it to the community. So by now you should have kind of figured out that we're not paying for marketing at all. The councils pay for the marketing because they subscribe to the park, and just like any other event, they then basically, push it on to the rest of the community. Now each park comes with a community of anything between 40 and 300,000 people. So it all then depends on, the amount of marketing that the council can do in order to push it. But worst case scenario, we're getting 500 users at least, if not more. And we haven't even kind of, really, refined the strategy and helping the councils how to market it. This is all pretty much still grassroots. So the World Urban Parks Forum at the very top is the umbrella network that talks to all the other organizations that then have the councils as members. And they're our mentor and our advisor. We're members of them as well. But from the very start, when we started out, we got in touch with them. They loved what we were doing. They started doing introductions all around the world. So thanks to them, we got all these partnerships going. We're now talking to other organizations around the world that are outside parks and recreation. So the moment we're signing up a partner, they then take Magical Park, they take the articles, they do a full spread in their newsletter, in their magazine, they shout it from the rooftops, they retweet, etc., to a membership of anything like up to 300,000 people or more. Like UK Active has got a membership of several million. So there you go. So yeah, and the other cool thing is obviously they're doing sales for us and they're doing invoicing. So we don't even have to chase up the councils, for paying bills. We literally just collect the money that has been made at the end of the month from each country. So the reason why I brought up investment is really just because what's the other option to kind of get your game going when you're not having any money and you're looking at the App Store as a model, as a marketing model. You still need capital to market, and that was the only other alternative that we had. If we had stuck with Sharks in the Park, we would have needed cash to market it. We would have needed cash to push it out. And in our case, it was predominantly because it is a really new technology of a reality, but I can tell you, I pitched to the angel investors in Wellington and in Auckland. I was laughed out of the room. They basically said to us, nobody in their right mind is going to run around with a phone in front of their face outside. And then Pokemon Go happened. So, before that, we were just literally, it was like entertainment for them, and they thought it was funny, and that was it. And by now, there are the odd occasional blip that they kind of put into the newsletters for other investors to see. It's like, saying, see, we ditched these guys and we didn't want to hear talk to them. And now look, it's working. The model is working. So that's my little bleed. But generally what we learned is that if you are a gaming company and you're trying to find investment in New Zealand, it's pretty much impossible. You have to go overseas. And I mean, you probably know Ronel Schott from Zingoshi. they've managed to get funding for their game and their books and everything, but they had to go to the States. So if you are looking down the investment route, don't waste your time. So yeah, I told you about what happened with Pokemon Go. So we were first, which is really nice. So Parks Week, what I mentioned earlier on in March. So we went from 14 active parks in February to 176 in 3 weeks. It was a shitload of work because I had to program them all. And the other thing that quite a lot of people ask us commonly is, like, how do you set up the parks? Well, I don't have to travel yet. I sit in Huya on my hill in Tilirangi, and that's where I stay. And I try to come into town as little as possible. So I don't fly around the world to set up parks. Everything is, if at most, a phone call or a Skype. Most of the time, not even that. It's all done via email. So, the councils tell us which park they want. I have a look at it on Google Maps. I say, yep, that works. I set it up. They go and check it. They do a health and safety check, and then it's active for good. And so, in March, 47 councils in Australia, 19 councils in New Zealand, all within 3 weeks. And that was for us the next growth spurt in terms of money coming in. Giving you stats. So we had 9,625 gaming sessions. We had over 24,000 park visitors, which the councils were pretty stoked about. I might add that during that 1 week we had torrential flooding in New Zealand, so this is pretty much just numbers derived from Australian activity. And over 1,200 gaming hours played in the park. So for councils, the last two figures is what matters. They want to know how much time the families spend in the park and how many families are going to the park. And so they were pretty happy with that. Because when you think about $2,500 over the course of a year versus, for instance, one evening event, like movies in the pool, something like that, that costs $4,000 or $5,000 just for one night. So what we are offering them is so basic, so easy to set up, that alone, makes it really attractive. One thing that came out of Parks Week that really impacted on our business model was, after that, I rang up every single council and I tried to learn what can we make better. And up until that time, we hadn't considered the pop-up parks. Amy was feverishly working on a gaming plan for retention mechanics, bringing the kids back every single week. Now, all of a sudden, I was destroying her plans by saying, pop-up parks, kids will only play for 1 week and they might not get to play until next year. So she had to cater with her game design for both. She had to design something that you could only play with for a week and you would be happy, or you could play, like every week and you would be happy. And that was a real challenge for her. The marketing so far has been really interesting. So what the councils are doing is they're installing park signs. We provide the graphics, they do the signs. And they do all the social media posting, they boost them, they pay for that. Some councils have done launch events where they say for the first 100 families, free coffee and free ice cream. That worked. And then obviously traditional media. And with the traditional media, that's probably my biggest bugbear, that the media is rocking in and they quite often take photos where you don't see anything. Like you see a guy at best standing next to the park sign and that's it, which doesn't draw a crowd, which doesn't draw the people in. And sometimes the media people from the council don't know enough about Magical Park, so then they don't hand over the video link, all that sort of stuff. So we're working on better communication in that space. So the value of what the councils are getting out of it is literally they want to get tech-savvy families into parks. They want to have family bonding time. They want to see healthy communities. We're having a rise of obesity. All that stuff helps. And what they're looking for is for something that is a safe brand, something that doesn't get them into disrepute, something that doesn't get them into media for bad reasons. So that's where the ethical side comes in. They really like that. And what we're also providing for them is council surveys. So because we are having access to the community, it is easier for us to push a survey to the community and say, for instance, hey, what is your favorite thing to do at your park? Tell us which park you go. Tell us what's the favorite thing is to do there is. It's not a problem for us, but for the councils it is. Oh, yeah. sorry, I'll just kind of like stop that here. I'll sort of, you can't hear it, but this is fan art. A school sent us this video and said, we love this game so much, and the students made a video of it, which is just so, so cute. And yeah, you have to probably find it on YouTube because it's a little bit too quiet. But it's very cute. They've done an awesome job. So the value of building a tribe, what we learned is you find an impact network, you identify who your users are, you identify the value that the impact network would have from your game idea. So if you are doing a game that, you know, like is about vampires, where do the people that love vampires hang out? How do you find them? What do they do? What are they like? The more you know about your users and their likes and dislikes, the more you can hone into it, and the more you can kind of identify who else likes vampires, you know, and who else has got an interest in seeing your game being made. And if you see your game being made, then you can kind of like do a cross-promotion and a deal. So we are still only 2 people, Amy and myself, but we have a team of about 20 people behind us. And those 20 people are working quite a lot for us, and they're just getting paid commission. And it's actually less than we would have had to pay for App Store or Google Play Store. And they are doing all that marketing for us. What they are getting out of it is something cool to talk about. And that's what all those businesses need. They need something that is like, that is news, you know, something that is not the old hat that they keep kind of like talking on about. So we become an addition to what they're selling, and it's a really nice symbiosis. It works really well. So just to recap, so basically we are growing our community from the councils then talk, you know, spread to their community, and the community then flows it on into the schools, and the schools creates a whole new community. So for instance, in October I'm talking at the education conference, ULearn, which is 3,700 teachers. Out of that conference, we will have a hell of a lot of schools signing up for 2 months free Magical Park in their schoolyard. All the kids will learn about the game. Then when they see the park sign somewhere, you know, like they will say to mommy and daddy, I want to go and play. So it's that whole fostering community. The schools are getting out of it, you know, that it is an app that helps the kids wanting to learn to read. It's a great reward for good behavior. It fosters exercise, all sorts of tech. So they see all sorts of benefits in it. Right now, we've got 22 active permanent parks in New Zealand and 15 in Australia. That is not even including the pop-up parks. So Toowoomba, for instance, has just put in an order for 17 pop-up parks, which I have to book. And some of the bookings going all the way up to April next year. So we literally, you know, like already booking for school holidays, for Halloween, for Christmas, for Easter. A lot of our work is seasonal. And it's really fun because you can kind of like combine it with other events that are on in the community, and it gives the council something that they really enjoy pushing out there because it's new, it's novel. And on that note, one thing that I forgot to mention to you guys, I'll just quickly go back because I don't know the figures by heart. This was feedback I got from, where is it? Yeah, this is feedback I got from City of Casey in Melbourne. So they have a community of 300,000 people. One single post of Magical Park reached over 70,000 people, had 452 comments, and was shared 319 times. They said they'd never seen anything like it. So that's how it works, and councils just love that stuff. You know, it's like the best community spreading the word for them as ever. So now that you know, there are magical parks, we're having a battle of parks coming up in the school holidays. And so there are 8 self-owned parks, 2 parks per community, and the community will be asked to vote which park they want to have as a permanent park. So 4 of them are pop-ups and 4 of them will become permanent. So at the moment, if you go online, you probably see, you know, a shitload of more parks that are programmed as testing areas for us at the moment. But these are parks where if you've got like, you know, kids or friends with kids or whatever, where you can literally go and play. And it's for free. So yeah, it's a pretty good concept. It's a lot of fun, and when you are coming from a business incubator, you're always thinking already about the exit. How are you exiting the company that you've just built? And for us, it is not just revenue; it's the community that we're building and the value that that has. Because a lot of companies like Nickelodeon, they are struggling to figure out how to get in front of a community. YouTube is working to a degree, but it's not working as well as they like it. And so we're hoping that we've got potentially a new platform that we can put in front of them, you know, and say, here's a community that we can give to you. It's global, and you have access to it instantly if you put in SpongeBob into our game as a separate world. So that is that in a nutshell. And I think now we've got a little bit of time for questions, do we? I raced through it. Cool. Questions? Yep.
So how difficult is it to scale? So in terms of like adding another park, what sort of time and resources involved, and like when are you thinking about sort of moving to the US and other markets?
Yeah, we're working on the US at the moment. We're talking to the city of Toronto. They're quite keen on being the first over there to have it.
Yep.
We're trying to pilot every country first, so we're setting up a couple of trial parks to learn about the dynamic of the community and whether the content is going to work and everything else.
Yep.
And then we're basically looking for a partner. So they have, you know, like a parks and recreation organization over there, just the same as we do. In fact, they have one per state. They've got one overarching one, and then they've got one per state.
Yep.
And in order to set up a park for us is like if the park is just suitable and it just works because the council has read the dimensions and you know what they need to consider choosing a park, then I can literally just program it in a slide within 5 minutes. And then I just send them an email and say, here it is, have fun. And that's that. And then they, you know, so for instance, the first park that we sold in the UK, she heard about it through a parks organization, got in touch with me. She said, we would really like to have a look at it. The park that I'm thinking of is such and such. The next email I got back to her was like, right, it's live, go have fun. Download the app, go to the park over the weekend, tell me how it was. She came back the next weekend, you know, after the weekend, said, I love it, how much? I said, well, how long do you want it? And she said, for the entire Halloween duration that the game is on, a Halloween game, so 5 weeks. I said, sweet, done. That was it. So it's so incredibly simple. And what stunned me probably the most about it was how much the mentors and advisors were telling us to not work with councils. And they, you know, the moment they give us the order form, they want to pay. They go like, right, I've given you the order form, where's the invoice? Can we pay now? It's like, geez, give me a chance. I'm not actually invoicing you. You know, somebody else is invoicing you. You have to wait. And we're getting emails from council saying, we haven't received the invoice yet. It's like, geez, you only ordered yesterday. Give me a chance. We're working on it. So they're really good customers. We don't have to chase them up. They pay on time. They pay before the time. It's a really good revenue model for us. And I mean, for us, it helped us grow the game. We're really proud about the next release that's coming out because it's such a huge step. The bigger growth picture is to go into all the different countries and basically have a total of 1,000 parks set up, which would put the company at a level of a revenue level where it would be interesting, you know, to do joint venture deals, for instance, you know, with somebody who has got a really interesting gaming IP or kids IP that they might want to feature to the community that we have built.
So do you worry about competitors coming into the space?
We've had the first competitors pop up in the last 6 weeks, which is really interesting. So you probably saw the Stuff article about Biba. And it's interesting, they're doing AR markers on playgrounds. They didn't get very good feedback. And I think for them, they got I reckon that they got the demographic wrong. Because the thing is that kids 3 to 6 are still happy to go to playgrounds. Mm-hmm. It's age 7, 8 when they do not want to go outside anymore. And I think this to me is where it is important that you understand the problem that you're trying to solve. And you may kind of like think, I just want to do a pretty game. Even with a pretty game, you're solving a problem of boredom. You know, you're still trying to entertain somebody with a passion for the same thing that you have a passion for. If it is Flutter, for instance, from Runaway Play, then you have a passion for pretty butterflies and for nature. And that's what they're fueling. So, you know, but you're still solving the problem of boredom. It's entertainment. And I guess for us it's no different. It's just a different entertainment for the kids that the parents agree with. And that's it.
So where do you draw the line between in-app advertising and a tie-in with an IP? Like for instance, if Universal came to you and said they wanted to make the next Shrek movie, I don't think they're making Shrek, but anyway, if they came to you and said that, would you say no? That's in-app
See, this
advertising?
is a really good question, because now that we had that conversation, this is covert advertising, right?
Yeah.
But in this case, you know, like we would kind of feel that it would be okay. And most of the parents wouldn't have a problem with it. As long as the content is appropriate and there is nothing in there that would stimulate the kids to then go and pull out Denny's credit card or, you know, like abuse the account or pester them in any sort of shape or form, you know. That to us is really where it needs to be clear. And I think when you look on the App Store, so far we've been told that free-to-play is doing better than premium. I think on the kids' App Store it is different. I haven't seen any research, but I'm guessing that on the kids' App Store, the premium games are actually doing better than the free-to-play, you know, which have the in-app purchases. So it's, yeah, it's you know, parents just want to know how much they have to pay, and they don't want to have any surprises after that it wasn't a full deal or they still have to pay for in-app purchases after that. It just needs to be, yeah, well, good communication, really. So I think that would be fine. But where we would draw the line is if somebody said, you know, like, right, we want to have a game for McDonald's in the game, then we would say no. So it would have to be, you know, like something that all parents sort of agree with, you know. So, I mean, we have some parents who don't agree with Halloween. So we're even trying to make it like, you know, non-religious, not even the slightest hint to any sort of like, you know, religion in any shape or form. Our Christmas game is about helping Santa Claus fight the bad Yeti. That sort of stuff. Yeah?
Just in a slightly abstract way, maybe build on that question as well. I mean, do you see the councils themselves almost being some form of advertiser for you? Because I'm thinking, really that's a channel for you folks, and you were saying, no to say the Coca-Colas of the world and the McDonald's of the world, but really you're leveraging the council's reach and stance and so on in the community. So did you see them almost as an advertiser in the way you think about it, or is it more you see them as a safe partner which has values and so on?
No, they're our advertiser, but also a partner in the sense that when we sign up a council, we do go into a partnership in a way. So we do whatever we can, we're going out of our way to make sure that their park is going to be a success. And to the degree we are now learning how hard it is for the people that are signing up the parks to then get their marketing team to push out the right message. Like I just saw a message this morning on on Instagram, where so they have to fill out a report, they have to write up, you know, what's going into a message, the picture with it, and the link. And then you have the message going out with the picture and no link. So in that case, you know, like they're talking about a link that is not there. It happens all the time, and sometimes, you know, yeah, it's just really frustrating for the people that are doing youth activation and events management. They are not the ones doing the marketing. They have to hand it over to somebody else. It's a bit of a silo effect in councils. Yeah?
I'm just wondering, so councils is where you go for interaction, right? So you must have gone through several options of who to contact. So how do you choose, what was your decision process? Do you think that council took first?
Really just understanding what are we actually selling. And I think for us, what the tricky bit was that we tried to make the game technology fit the market. So we see ourselves as a game technology developer, not so much actually a game developer, which is quite funny. But we're really focusing on the game technology because it is so different and so new, and trying with that to solve the problem of getting kids off the couch and active outside. And the councils really just seem to be a faster and better and easier way for us to do it. And it's definitely, like it's working because we can pay ourselves, like we can pay ourselves a salary, the company's steadily growing, and the councils keep coming back. That's the other beauty. We have articles in government magazines, which, further spreads the word, and we are more kind of like seen as a healthy add-on to government community engagement, community engagement. Yeah. Well, I think we've covered all the questions, I think. Well, then, thank you very much. I hope that was thorough.